face, rather than her other assets. But a small, knowing smile lifted one corner of his mouth. 4 more. Roxanne, half of Big Billy's waitstaff for the night, placed her tray of empty beer bottles on the bar. Apparently turning 30 is a thirsty business. She gestured toward the rowdy birthday party occupying the 4 tables closest to the stage and live band. Jaden smiled weakly, relieved that Roxy had moved in to block her view of the man. What the hell was she doing, showing off her cleavage to some stranger? While she was standing there getting all hot and bothered, he could very well be studying her to determine how best to cut her body up so that the pieces would fit in his freezer. She shivered. She was comparing him to apple pie, while he was working on wording the ransom note. Jaden laughed out loud at that. He was going to be so disappointed when he figured out he was kidnapping someone whose close friends had about $73 between them. "You okay?" Roxy asked, fishing in her apron pocket for a bottle opener. Jaden rubbed her forehead. Good grief. She couldn't even open beer bottles tonight. It had been a difficult past 12 months for her, professionally and personally. It had gotten downright hellacious in the past 5. And while drinking a vat of amaretto sounded enticing, she wasn't here tonight to relax, drown her sorrows, or to celebrate. She was here to help cover her friend Gina's shift while she went skiing with her boyfriend. Which was good. It was simple. It was straightforward. It provided her money, and it had nothing to do with her ex-professional life, or her ex-fiancé. "Jaden," Billy said wearily, holding up 2 large margarita glasses. "Why don't you take a break?" Jaden looked at the green contents of the glasses that looked barely touched. "What's wrong?" "They ordered mojitos." Well, at least she'd gotten the color right. Sort of. "You know, Billy, maybe I'll head home." He looked relieved, and Jaden smiled. She glanced over to table 16 again as she untied her apron and stuffed it in the laundry basket by the kitchen door. Being at home alone with her thoughts still rated higher than being tied up in the trunk of a car. But for some reason, the idea of being tied up by the man whose eyes she met again and whose gaze made even her pinky toe tingle didn't go in the direction of car trunks so much as 4-poster beds with silk scarves. She huffed out a breath and wiped her hand across her forehead. Yep, it was official. She was losing it. Adam Steele always got what he wanted, and what he wanted was always a good idea. He watched the petite bartender disappear through the swinging door behind the bar. He wanted her. When he'd first entered Big Billy's, the tiny bar and grill on the outskirts of Kansas City, he'd noticed her and assumed it was the hair. It was so blonde it was almost white, and she wore it short and spiky, sticking up in every direction. On most people, it would have looked ridiculous. On her, it fit. Which was absurd, considering he didn't know her at all. But it wasn't the hair that kept drawing his eye. It was... He wasn't sure, which was driving him nuts. "I'm here." Adam watched as his brother slid into the chair across the table from him, breathless, a bit rumpled, and an hour late. "How much did you lose?" "How do you know I lost?" "If you were winning, you would have left the game and been here when you were supposed to be." Tony gave him an insincere, chagrined look. 5,000. Which wasn't bad in the high-stakes poker games Tony played in, especially since he usually won twice that much. Adam downed the rest of his scotch. "Let's get going with this. I have a conference call at 6 a.m. Adam went to bed early and got up early. It was a habit, and he didn't like breaking habits. "Fine." Tony slung an arm over the back of his chair and turned to look around.